And Mark, moving right along into our next topic before we close everything out and make our Week 5 picks, we are looking at the Tennessee Titans in this one. And this is another team. We're talking about surprise 3-1 teams. Basically, that's the theme of today.
Yeah.
Surprise 3-1 teams. Bengals, Bears, and now the Titans. As the Titans are 3-1 after losing to Miami in that 7-hour rain-delayed game on September 9th. They lose, but then they win 3-point games against Houston, against Jacksonville, 2 divisional games, and then this past week to the Eagles in overtime, winning 26-23. I will ask you the plain and simple question: are the Titans contenders or are they pretenders for this year?
This is a tough one for me because I want to say initially that I do think they are more pretender than contender because, yes, they've got a good defense and they've got a great pass rush. That's not surprising, but the team can't score points. It's pretty much that simple for me. And Marcus Mariota, he's had injuries again, as he typically seems to do now. He might be earning that injury-prone label. Yeah. The running game's been good. This passing game is what's struggling. But Week 4, Marcus Mariota, Corey Davis, that looks like it might be starting to happen finally. Something we've all kind of wanted and expected for a little bit. But it plain and simple comes down to me, and maybe the Jaguars are leaning me a little too much, but I sit there and I say, this team just isn't scoring enough points. 20 against the Dolphins. 26 actually was their most against the Eagles, but 20 against the Dolphins, 20 actually against the Texans, and then 9 against the Jaguars. Scoring 20 points, not going to be enough. That's why they lost to the Dolphins. That's why they almost lost to the Texans. 9, that's something completely different. That Jaguars game is a big mystery. That 26-point game against the Eagles, that's good. Usually against the Eagles, that's not enough to beat them. But in this case, it was. In this case, it did enough. And that's what I worry about. The Bills I'm not super worried about. Although, I don't know, Josh Allen can throw it all over the Vikings, so who knows. But the Ravens, they're going to ball out with you. The Chargers, that's a big shootout. The Patriots, there's a big shootout. You got to play Andrew Luck twice. You got to play the Texans again, which was a tough win. You're going to play the Jaguars again, which that game is a big mystery to me. And Alex Smith with the Redskins have looked pretty decent. So there's a lot of tough games on this schedule that make me think maybe not really that much of contenders, but maybe that maybe that offense doesn't need to score a ton of points. They just don't let other teams score points.
Well, part of me is, and I got to exactly look up, I want to make sure that I get it. One of the best things that they have been doing is they're winning the turnover battle. And you look at it where, let's see, how many interceptions do they have? No, that's what I wanted. I'll find it. I basically am looking for the turnover differential for them. But
they have 4 interceptions and forced 1 fumble.
No, I'm saying compared, are they +4, -5? How many have they given up? I think they're way positive in the turnover battle. They've
only gotten 5 turnovers.
But I think they're forcing more turnovers than they are giving up turnovers. And that's a big thing. If you can do that and not give extra chances to the other team, then you are going to win games. However, I look at this team still, and Titan fans are going to hate me because I'm going to say this. The Titans are pretenders because they're a prime example of basically what we saw from the Broncos last year. Broncos, same thing. Great defense. Quarterback situation was a little bit worse, a lot of bit worse than what we have now. But if Marcus Mariota is constantly injured and that is shaky, they are not going to be a team that ends 10 wins on the year. They might not even be a team that ends 9 wins on the year. And you look at their schedule, they've got some opponents that I know people are going to say, oh, but Ricky, they beat Jacksonville. Jacksonville, that game was horrible for Jacksonville alone because you look at that game stat-wise, they only handed the ball off. First off, Leonard Fournette didn't play. I think if Leonard Fournette plays that game, a vastly different game for the Jaguars because the Jaguars didn't give TJ Yeldon the ball in that one.
No, he was on my fantasy team.
He only
they couldn't
got
do that.
7 carries in that game. Blake Bortles only had 155 total yards in that one. So it was like the Jacksonville offense was part of it was the Tennessee defense, but I'm going to say part of it too was that Jacksonville offense.
Yeah, they were bad.
Because I had D.D. Westbrook going for the MVP team that week. And I was like, come on, what are you doing? I picked you up because you were getting some targets. But you look at Marcus Mariota, he didn't get any touchdowns in that one. He only threw for 100 yards of offense in that game. And they only ran for, Marcus Mariota ran for another 51. But Derrick Henry on 11 more carries than TJ Yeldon only had 13 more yards than TJ Yeldon. And I know that Jacksonville defense is tough. I just look at the Titans, and they're doing everything right now to win close games. But I don't think they are going to be able to do that the rest of the way. I think they win one more, they go up to 4-1, and then reality hits hard. I think the Ravens beat them. I think the Chargers beat them. I don't think they beat New England. I don't think they beat Houston in Houston, although they beat Houston already. I'm going to say Houston beats them on the road. I don't think they beat Jacksonville again. I don't think they beat Washington. That is for sure 6 losses. And you might be saying, well, Ricky, that's good enough for 9 wins at least. There's probably one of those games. Dallas I didn't mention. That could be a game, depending on what Dallas team we see. Dallas could squeak out a win. The Colts, I don't even know. Maybe they'll split one. This is a Titan team where they're not going to go 5-11 like the Broncos did, but this is a Titan team that I think ends the year between 7 and 9 wins on the year and doesn't make the playoffs. They'll probably be 8-8 and miss the playoff.
I think they'll probably compete for a wild card spot, and it's going to depend a lot on those other teams. You know, it's going to depend on teams like the Chargers. If Houston pulls it together, as their defense hasn't been as good as you'd hope. If the Dolphins can still continue to have success, you know, teams like that are teams that I think the Tennessee Titans are going to be competing with to get one of these wild card spots. Because I don't think anybody expects Jacksonville not to win this division, so they're automatically competing for the wild card spot. And they can be an 8-8 team, a 9-7 team, like you say.
Be careful with that. There might be Tennessee fans that are saying, "Whoa! We're tied with Jacksonville right now. We can win the division."
You are. They've scored more points than you guys so far, and they've given up less. So,
and the Titans are the only team to beat Jacksonville.
Yeah, which is interesting. When Jacksonville decided 6 points, that's probably good enough, right?
I just don't get it. Like they win 31-20 over the Patriots, and then go, we don't need to beat the Titans.
Well, it was a little test. They're like, can we win with only 2 field goals? Can we do that? Let's find out.
How good is our defense? Let's put them to the test.
Well, put them to the that's test. What last season was all about for the Jaguars is how good is this defense? And yeah, I mean, for me, Jacksonville still should go out there and win this division. Tennessee Titans, they can beat behind because, I mean, I can see 5 games that I definitely think they can win, which would give them 8 wins, and then it's just, can they steal another one, to get 9-7?
Let's put it this way. I'm looking right now. This is Seth Walder on ESPN Analytics posted this. And after the first 4 weeks of the season, if you look at the FPI, which is the team strength going forward, his big thing is, wow, the Chiefs are 6th on that list because of their poor defense. Titans are 3-11. Do you want me to name all the teams ahead of them?
Sure.
The Texans, the Seahawks, the Redskins, the Cowboys, the Panthers, Packers, Bengals, Bears, Chargers, Vikings, Steelers, Falcons, Eagles, Chiefs, Saints, Jaguars, Ravens, Patriots, Rams. They're the 20th ranked team based on team strength going forward. That to me, and I know that, the analytics aren't everything, but they kind of are. They do
help
play a lot of everything,
at the moment.
especially in this world. Analytics help us huge when it comes to sports. I look at that and go, this is not going to be a playoff team. They're good right now. They have a good record. They'll probably end up 7-8 wins and miss the playoffs.
Totally possible because, I mean, you would have looked at their schedule and thought this was a hard part. They played the Texans, they played the Jaguars, they played the Eagles, and they beat all three of those teams. So who knows really what can happen. That's the thing with, you talk about those analytics, but it's only been 4 games, so it's a small sample size. It's worth acknowledging that. But they definitely still have hard teams because, one, their division is difficult, but they got to play the Patriots. They get to play the Cowboys, which I think that the Tennessee Titans can probably beat the Cowboys, but they also are going to play the Chargers, the Ravens. They've got difficult teams coming up. It's not going to be easy for them. They really need this offense to get moving. Running game's been fine. Get the passing game going. Keep Marcus Mariota healthy. And if they can do that, they can compete for a wild card. It just depends on what those other teams are going to be like.
Which is funny because just looking at the Titans alone, I was curious to see what you and I said before the season. I had them 7-9.
I think I had them as a playoff
division. Team. I don't know if they were in the playoffs for you, but do you remember how many wins you had?
8 or 9.
You had the reverse of me. So I had 7-9. You had 9-7.
All right.
So this is a team that when I say pretender, I'm not saying they were 3-1 last year, or the Broncos who were 3-1, and then they go 5-11.
Yeah.
They're more like that Bill and Lion team. To where it's they went 3-1 and then they finished 8 wins, 9 wins.
But that could maybe
get
you in the playoffs. That maybe can't.
9
and the Bills and the Lions are a perfect example of that.
9-7 can in the AFC. We saw that last year with the Bills, but they've got to be at least 9-7 if they want to get into the playoffs. The big thing I think moving forward for them is like you said. You got to just score some damn points.
Yeah,
that's the big thing. If you're not going to score points, if Marcus Mariota is not going to get you in the end zone, you're going to have trouble winning games, especially with some of the opponents that they're going to have to play. I don't see Jacksonville only putting up 6 against them again. I don't see Houston only putting up 17 against them. They got to play Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, I think, is going to put up at least 21 points on this defense in at least one of the games, probably the one in Indy. And then Alex Smith. The Redskins can put up points. Depending on which Cowboy team, or not Cowboy, well, yeah, technically Cowboy, but also Giant team you get, those teams can also put up points. Then you got to play the Patriots. Yeah. I mean, the Patriots are the Patriots, and they've got Edelman back, so we'll see if they get to full season form by the time you see them week 10.
I'm very interested in this season for Marcus Mariota to see how it turns out, and I'm not trying to just pin everything on him or say he's a bad quarterback or anything like that.
He is the quarterback.
But I just want to look at it because I'm interested because he's never had that lights out season. And I don't think that the Tennessee Titans have ever really asked that out of Marcus Mariota. But I'm very just interested to see, is he going to have that big, huge season that people want? Or is he going to be just kind of one of these game manager, kind of middle of the road type of quarterbacks, good enough to win games, not good enough to win them on his own type of guys? Because, and I'm sure a Marcus Mariota fan out there is hating me at the moment for saying this and saying...
I don't hate you, Mark. I like Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, I mean, I like Mariota too. I just don't necessarily think he's done anything ever to make me go, damn. That's a great quarterback.
I mean, the only thing I can hang my hat on is that when we're looking at the Winston-Mariota debate again, technically I'm right. Technically he's done better than Winston.
As long as Mariota doesn't fizzle out of the NFL, I think you're right.
Well, I mean, Winston hasn't been to a playoff game. At least Mariota has, and has won.
Sure, sure. But if neither one of them really makes it to year 6 or something like that, then I don't think it mattered. But... at the moment, Mariota certainly does lead that. And
Mariota didn't get suspended for being a scumbag, so there's that also.
That does help, but I think that was par for the course when you drafted Jameis Winston.
Crab legs Winston.
You probably knew that something was going to happen at some point because you were just hoping that his play would outweigh it.
And the one thing I do want to say is, because I know one of the Tennessee fans has brought this up, the game against the Philadelphia Eagles, where Mariota threw 344 yards, the norm or not the norm? Is it like, all right, this is what we should expect from Mariota week after week? Or is it like, all right, he had a good week against the Eagles, I'm not going to expect that against the Bills this week?
I don't think I would expect that as like the norm for Marcus Mariota, simply because we've been shown that that's not the norm for Marcus Mariota. He isn't a guy who's going to throw for 300 plus yards very often. Last year he had 2 times that he threw for over 300, and not that quarterbacks have to, but his norm is not going to be that Eagles game.
That Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, that Jared Goff type
He's not going to
numbers.
be the, no, we don't need a running game. I got this. He's not that type of quarterback. Unfortunately, the running game has been pretty good so far for Tennessee. They just need to keep it going.
Well, last thing I'll ask is, my final thought in this is basically, I'm going with pretender over contender, and I think that this team will finish 7 or 8 wins when the season is all said and done and not make the playoffs. What about you?
Yeah, between the two, contender, pretender, I lean to say pretender as well. They could get into the playoffs. It just depends on if some of those other teams are bad. But I think that there's going to be too many teams in that wild card spot that can squeeze out the Tennessee Titans simply because they don't score enough points.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in that comment section. Let us know if we're wrong saying that the Titans will be pretenders, or if you do think that they will be pretenders. Let us know what you guys are thinking down below in that comment section.